All right, guys, so direct variation at the top of your paper, if you've not written this, what I want you guys to make sure you write is y equals kx at the top, okay? What does k stand for? This is our slope. Why do I not have a plus b on a direct variation equation? It's proportional. What does proportional mean? It goes to the origin. So if it goes to the origin, that was a really good answer. What is my y-intercept then? Please tell me 0. Don't tell me nothing. It's 0. So really it's plus 0, but I don't need to write this piece of it because for this y-intercept, I don't need to write. We don't usually write it with proportional things, right? It goes to the origin, okay? So with us knowing y equals kx, and we know that the k is really the slope for us, then that's all we're doing for a lot of these problems is we're going in and we're solving it for the slope, and then we just write the equation, okay? So for problem number 1, if I'm trying to use this equation of y equals kx, I can use any of these points as long as I already know this table is a direct variation, right? They're telling me that up front, okay? So the 18 is going to equal the k times 3. And to go through and solve this, I'm just going to divide through by 3. This cancels. I have 3 going into 18, and that gives me a 6. So I know in this case, k is going to equal 6. The equation, when I ask you to write the equation, okay, I still need to be able to see the y variable. The k can go away because now I know k is 6, and I can bring down the x, right? So this is the equation of this table. This is the rule that I need to follow to be able to get all of these other points. If I take 4 and I plug it in for x, will I get 24 out of it? Yes, right? If I put 5 in, 5 times 6 gives me 30, so it matches the table. And that's what you're going to do for these others. So really quickly, I can look at problem number 2, and I know that my k value, I can really write it as y over x, which in this case is 4 over 1. So my slope, or my k, is 4. The equation is just y equals 4x. Okay? Good? Now, let's talk about the word problems here. So, when we talk about what it says, tell whether each illustrates a direct variation, explain why or why not. So I'm really trying to decide if it goes through the origin, like if I had to graph this relationship. So does it go through the origin? Is it proportional or non-proportional, right? Proportional means it is direct variation. Non would mean it doesn't, right? So a person's arm span and his or her height. What do you guys think? You think yes? It's proportional, right? So you guys you can think of it in 2 ways, because when I read this, I think of it when I originally read this problem, I thought of it as a person growing up and getting older, right? So when they're not born yet, they don't have height and they don't have an arm span, right? So they're 0, 0. Once they get to be 1 year of age, then now they have a certain height. They have a shorter wingspan or arm span. Now that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is to take a lot of different people of different heights and measure their arm span, right? And see, is there a difference with that, right? And usually if someone is taller, they're going to have a longer arm span, or we also call it a wingspan, right? So this one I would say is proportional. So I'm just going to put a P here for number 3. Okay. What about number 4, the number of eggs used in a particular recipe and the number of cups of flour used? Proportional? If I don't use any flour, would I use any eggs? No. If I use a cup of flour, maybe I use 1 egg, or however they do it, right? So this one I would probably say is proportional. Let's talk about number 5, the number of people sharing an apartment and the number of dollars rent each one must pay a month. Now, this was tough for me at first because there's no numbers in here. I don't know what they're talking about, right? But let's say the rent is, I don't know, $1,000 a month, okay? If I don't have anybody paying it, then, and I'm thinking of a graph, and I'm going to draw a little cheesy graph. Here's my graph. My y-axis is going to be the dollar. My x-axis is the number of people paying, okay? So if I have nobody paying $1,000, how much money still needs to be paid? $1,000. So I've got a point way up here. Is that going through the origin? No. If I have one person that's going to pay the rent, how much do they need to pay? $1,000, right? If I have 2 people, now it drops to 500. So when I kind of think of this graph, to me it's non-proportional. It doesn't go through the origin, okay? So I would say non-proportional for that one, okay? All right, problems 6, 7, and 8. I'm just going to pick one of them. Now, in these problems, I mean, it's very similar to the same problems at the top, right? Except for I gave you more points up in the top. So in 6, 7, and 8, I'm saying find the constant of variation k, which we know that we also call this slope, okay, for each, and assume that y varies directly with x. So as long as they tell me to assume that, I can use y equals kx to solve for this, and I could actually put it in the form of k equals y divided by x for all of these equations, right? So I'm trying to find that k value, try to find that slope, and then we just want to write the equation for it, okay? So for number 7, if my y is 7 and my x is 49, then I know my k is going to be what, 1/7? Okay? So this is going to be 1/7, and the equation would be y equals 1/7 times x, if you guys can see that. Okay? And that's all you're doing. You got to write the equation. When I ask you guys to write the equation, I want to see the variables y and x in the equation, okay? Because that's the rule I need to follow to generate the other points that I would need to graph this line or whatever, okay? The next one, if I want to do this bottom one, this would be what? Negative 36 divided by negative 4, which would give me a positive 9, so that's my k. So 9 is my k, and then the equation is just y equals 9x, okay? Any questions? Are we good? All right, let's flip it over and kind of see where we're at, okay? Now, I'll do one of these problems, but these are the ones that really kind of make you think a little bit harder, okay? Because I'm asking you not only to find k, but then I'm asking you to find either x or y based on that rule that you just created, okay? So problem number 9, if I'm telling you it varies directly, then we can go straight to k equals y over x. So that means this is going to be 2 divided by 6, which is 1/3. So my rule I need to follow is y equals 1/3 x. And now I'm asking you to solve, hey, if x equals 24, what is my y value? So the only way to do this is to take 24 now and plug it into this equation. So we're going to have y equals 1/3 times 24. Well, I know 3 goes into 24 8 times, so I know that y is going to be equal 8. And that is my problem number 9, okay? So the answer is 8. Or you could say y equals 8 if you want to, okay? Sorry. Do I need to do one more of those, or are you guys okay with that? Okay, I'm going to do number 11, okay? So number 11, again, I'm going to start off with I've got to find k. So I know k equals y divided by x, which is going to be 7 divided by 2. Now, I can't simplify that anymore. It's an improper fraction, so just leave it. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to leave it as an improper fraction. Especially if I have to graph this. This k is my slope, right? So my top number is my rise. My denominator is my run, okay? So I don't have to worry about rewriting that, okay? So my equation now is y equals 7/2 times x. And now I'm saying, hey, if x equals 8, what does y equal? Okay, so we're just going to plug 8 into this rule and solve for it. So y equals 7/2 times 8. Well, I know 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 7 equals 28. So for number 11, you would say y equals 28. And if I needed to go plot those points on a graph, I could plot the ordered pair 8, 28. Okay, bless you. Okay. Are we okay? Alright, I'm going to skip the word problems 13 and 14, and I really want to go down to the tables, because I think those are really important. When I first looked at those, I was like, how can I teach them to go in and see if it's proportional or not? Okay. Now, some of the tables, like, it'll jump right out at you, right? When I look at 15, what jumps out at you on table 15 to tell you that it's proportional or non-proportional? It goes to the origin, right? I don't even have to do any work. I can see that this one goes to the origin, so this one definitely has to be proportional, okay? Bless you. Now, The other option you can do, which takes a long time, is I could go in here and I could like make a really quick graph and I could start plotting these points and see if it goes to the origin, right? If I connected all the lines, would it go through the origin? That takes a long time, but if I don't want to do that, I could just really go back in and use the equation and think of it as k equals y divided by x, right? So what I would do with this is I would go in and I would take all the points. You have to take all the points and see if they vary directly with x. Like, does y vary directly with x? So when I do this, my first point, if I take 4 divided by negative 8, that simplifies what? To negative 1/2? Is that true? If I take the second point and I say 1 divided by negative 1/2, are they the same? So far it's varying directly, right? I've got the same slope with the points. Let's try the next one. What about negative 1 over positive 2? Is that the same? Okay, and then the last one, negative 3 divided by 6. What do I get? Negative 1/2. So is this table proportional? Yeah, you would tell me it's proportional. Okay, let's look at the next one. So if I take the very first point, I take negative 5 over 13. Can I simplify that at all, or do I just have negative 5 over 13? That's all I have, right? The next one, I would have negative 2 divided by 7. Are these the same fractions? Are they varying directly? No. So this one would be non, right? It does not go through the origin. And then the very last one is I have negative 1 over a negative 9, which gives me 1/9. Okay? If I take this next point and I take 2 over 69, can I simplify that at all? Actually, did I do that wrong? Nobody caught me on that. Y'all could have got a sticker. It's y over x, right? So I should have done this one as, and I even messed this one up too. Nobody caught this one. We have to go back and redo that one. This should be negative 9 over negative 1, which gives me a positive 9. If I have 69 divided by 2, does that simplify and give me a positive 9? No. So this one definitely is also non-proportional. Let's go back in and just double check our numbers here, okay? So again, it has to be y over x, okay? So when we're doing this, this should be 13 divided by negative 5. Can I simplify that at all? No, right? Same thing. If I take 7 and divide it by negative 2, can I simplify that at all?
No.
No. So both of these are non. The first two were proportional, okay? Any questions? What's your question, sir? Which one? Problem number 10 back up here? Okay. So again, we know it's proportional, right? So it's going to be k equals y over x. So I'm going to do negative 3 over negative 12. My negatives simplify and be positive, right? 3 goes into 12 4 times, so this is 1/4. So the rule we have is y equals 1/4 x. And then they want me to find out when y is negative 6. So if y is negative 6, now I have to do it kind of in the reverse, right? So it's negative 6 equals 1/4 times x. How do I clear the fraction? How do you clear fractions? We need to multiply this side by 4, right? And they cancel. I got to multiply this side by 4. So my answer for number 10 is y is going to equal, what is that, negative 24? Okay? Negative 24. Oh, I'm sorry, x. Look at Catherine stealing a sticker from me. There we go. X. Okay? X equals 24. Negative 24. All right, any questions about direct variation? Very exciting, right?